Hi, my name is Tami Matheny. I am a mental game coach and author, and I would like for you to catch me on the Jesse T Show. College experience. I was also a nerd academically. Made my first B, I think, my junior year, and thought the world had ended.
Lacquer.
But that was good. Now, when I became a coach, I didn't encourage my athletes to make Bs, but it's okay. I think I needed that because I was such a perfectionist mindset.
Yep.
I would remember the shots in basketball I missed, not the ones I made. And that was really a struggle for me. So I think there was a lot of evolution starting to happen in college that led me on the path I am now, being a mental game coach, because I didn't want athletes having that same journey. I enjoyed my journey, but it was a struggle mentally at times. But had a pretty good career. Still hold a couple of 3-point shooting records at Lenore-Ryan College.
What are they?
Excuse me?
What are the records?
I don't know the exact number because I'm not into numbers, and I tell people not to get into stats, but for the most 3-pointers in a season and most in a game.
Is this in the furniture capital of the world, Hickory?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Not many people know that. Oh, High Point, North Carolina.
High Point, yeah. High Point, that's what it was.
But
yeah.
Hickory, High Point, they're both of them pretty heavy on the furniture.
I used to run a business.
That's so random.
I know, it really is. I get a weird memory. So I used to run a business in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was an outside sales company. And we had these teams of people that would go out door to door, business to business. And we would always go up there like a day trip from Charlotte, because it's like an hour and a half, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we'd go up there and we'd knock the socks off up there because we were selling Braves tickets, Atlanta Braves tickets, 5 hours away, maybe more, in Hickory or High Point, both places, North Carolina, to go to a Braves game. It was crazy. So anyway, I digress. I was just thinking about that time period of my life. Speaking of,
I like it.
Being an entrepreneur, that was kind of part of my role. But and I know this a little bit from sports and people that are college athletes, your schedule, especially if you're really academic too, and you're really trying to get A's and you're really focusing on sports. Fair to say your schedule is pretty tight.
Yes. And I think that was another benefit of playing both sports. I tended to be a lot more focused and better with time management when I knew I had to do things. If it was an off day or off season, I could get a little, I don't want to say undisciplined, but I could waste some time. So it really helped with time management.
I feel like most college athletes at the D1, D2 level are like mini CEOs. I mean, things with nutrition and eating well and making sure you bake in time for academics and getting your degree and also being a full-time athlete. And so I feel like those foundations, those core tenets of work ethic, time management, being mindful of just kind of where to be and how to show up. Those are building blocks for being an entrepreneur in so many ways. Where did you start your entrepreneurial path? Was it pre-college? Was it after college? Like, when did you start getting into this, world?
I think I was 5 years old with my lemonade and watermelon stand that my twin brother and I would do. So I think it started then. And then in high school, I was always trying to give tennis lessons here or there to the younger kids. And, my grandfather had a farm. Hey, what could I do to earn money? So, I had a sense for it back then, I guess, without realizing it. And it just kind of evolved. So how I got to where I am now, I spent 14 years at a university coaching in administration. And while I enjoyed that, I knew there was, I didn't like being behind the desk or confined to time. And so it kind of evolved and led me to, hey, I can create my own business, kind of be my own boss, and let's see what can happen. So that's kind of the evolution there.
So the 14 years, what kind of coach? Head coach, assistant coach, and then what school and what were you doing? What were the day-to-day?
I started off as a head coach. I skipped the assistant part, which came back to bite me in the butt at times.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of learning on my own. But what I realized that no one else wanted the job. So I thought I was special in that I was hired, but I was the only one that applied. I found that later.
Okay.
um, but took over a very poor program. And basically, it was a tennis program at the Division II level, USC Upstate. And they were treating tennis kind of as just to have the sport. A lot of the athletes they had pulled from the soccer team or track team, and it wasn't very serious. But the athletic director said the budget was awful. And he said he wanted it to be nationally ranked within 4 years.
Wow.
I was too naive. Okay, sure. That's a great challenge. Sure, let's do it.
Aggressive.
When like people are telling me, you're an idiot, Tami, you can't, I didn't know any better. And so I just, started recruiting guys and girls. It was men and women. So started recruiting them and selling them on this belief of come be a part of what people say can't be done. And we just really established together. Everybody says, oh, you had a great culture, but it was together with those players, especially the first ones. And we really did establish an amazing culture there. And within 3 years, we're nationally ranked. Now, first year, I lost every single match, men and women.
Wow.
I don't even think we won a set. So that added some gray hairs, but
for sure.
we chose not to. And I think this is important because I still find myself talking about this every day. We chose not to get caught up in short-term results. This is our vision. If we lose today, that's okay. Also with my recruiting, I didn't want to get a guy that would just help me right now. I wanted someone that was going to help for this vision that I had. So I think that was, a very important piece to the success that we did have.
Another core tenet of being an entrepreneur is sales. And it doesn't necessarily have to be selling a widget or something physical, but you're selling people on the idea. You're selling people on the idea to follow you, have blind faith behind you on the wall says, believe in the idea. And so what was that like in trying to attract people to this kind of off the grid, not very glamorous initially team in school? How was that recruiting people? And where were you finding these people to try to bring them in?
Well, where you're going this week, Peru. My first 5 recruits were from Peru. I had a couple local. Yeah. So it became an international. And the thing about the international players, most of them are mature. I don't want to be stereotypical, but most of them are a lot more mature than the average American if they're willing to come to the U.S.
Sure. Yeah.
They know why they're here. They're very, this is what I want. They don't mess around because they don't want to be sent home.
Huge opportunity. Yeah.
And you don't have to do it with parents. You don't get the phone calls of the parent saying, why isn't my kid playing? I might have gotten them, but I didn't know what they were saying. Right. So, no, I joke. But so then they've just really started recruiting their friends. They knew people. So it really became we had a South American culture. It was predominantly South American. Had a couple of kids from Europe and a couple Americans. But so I think I learned probably more than I helped them with as far as culture, as far as diversity, as far as being open-minded. And it was just an amazing experience. But the interesting thing was recruiting the guys. And I remember one day I was on the court with one of my men during his match, and the other guy, a big ego guy, he looked at me and said, women don't belong on this court with us. It's a joke that you're coached by a female. Well, my guy jumped in the net and a fight broke out. Wow. But afterwards, we were calmly talking, and I asked my guys, I looked at them, I said, why did y'all want to come play for me? Because obviously you get it from some of the other guys. And one of the guys looked at me and he said, Coach, the only person I've ever listened to before is my mom. And you're kind of like an extension of my mom. So I knew I would come and listen to you.
Wow.
Okay.
A beautiful compliment too, to put up in the ranks of someone's mom, like probably the most important person in someone's life.